All right, guys, I know you guys probably seen this and you're like, look, I'm tired of watching a bunch of 23-year-olds do a bunch of different stuff or even seeing this on my feed. I don't even know why I clicked on the video. I'm going to explain all that stuff. I literally have a few notes on here, but I'm going to be super tactical because first and foremost, the reason why I put that YouTube title was because this can naturally relate to anyone and give anyone value. But obviously from YouTube's perspective, I wanted to be very tactical with it. This video is genuinely meant for anyone that has a burning passion inside them that they're not acting upon, which is part of the reason why I said for anybody watching that's 43, 16, 23, because this could relate to anybody in their time span in life. And I just knew I had to do something like this. And then not to mention the story situation. Like, I'm going to talk about my story, even, let's be honest, deep down, you guys don't give a fuck about my story, right? You're like, what's in it for me? That's exactly how I'll be able to show you the value that you can gain from it by talking about certain aspects of my life that I went through to get me to the position where I can literally do whatever I want. Like, I can enjoy the life that I actually want to enjoy and truly be that person that I know I am inside. And it took a lot of different things to actually happen. So that's part of the reason why you'll see some of these different phases of Mendoza. And it's 4 fucking points, just 4 fucking points. So this should be very tactical, very sweet. You're going to get a lot of value from it. So let's get into it. Point 1, college, high school era Doza, right? So we have 3 different sections we're going to go over. Your friends won't be your friends moment, right? You have the decisions moment and then the foundations moment. So first and foremost, if we were to talk about the friends will be your friends, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. However, a lot of people don't understand this, especially when they're coming into high school or even grad or even like college or even people in their regular job, right? You're working a regular 9 to 5 job that you've been there forever. Your friends there won't be your friends later. And the reason why I say that is because whatever true instinctual gut feeling you have on the thing you actually want to do, I guarantee you there is a person living that life right now, but that person doesn't have those friends that are actually in your current life right now. And so with that being said, it's something that you have to remind yourself. The faster you realize this, the faster, and I'm literally reading right here, the faster you'll be able to find the right friends you actually want to be around. When I was in college/high school, I knew this very quick and I realized this very quick. And it was after the time that I ended up leaving baseball, which I thought baseball was my life. And that's when I picked up a camera. I started doing photography and videography. However, nobody in the high school did that. So I was basically by myself. I was excluded. I knew I needed to find the right people, to find the right friends. And that's when I ended up extending outward. I ended up looking for photography meetups. I ended up looking for all these different outlets on Instagram, social media. And that's when I started truly networking and finding the right people that way. I ended up going to a bunch of meetups, a bunch of like social networking events. And then ultimately that ended up breeding into finding people that were actually pretty cool. And they were a lot older than me, right? And so I ended up finding really cool people completely outside of my spoke. And it was tied to that actual core internal value that I actually wanted to do, that calling, which was to do photography, do videography, travel the world, do all that stuff. And I was able to find the right people through those decisions that I made. And then I realized those people are actually my friends to this day. And then most of the people in high school aren't. Hardly any of them, only like 1. So understand that your friends won't be your friends later. Now the decisions for you to go to college, for you to just stay working a regular job, for you to go to the military. I took the route of going to the military and college, right? So in the beginning, I went through college. I went through the phase. I did the party phase. I did all that stuff. But the one thing that I realized, it wasn't tied towards my actual calling. I thought it would, but it didn't. It was more or less a case where I was sitting in class and then I was going through all these trainings, but then ultimately, like, all the stuff that I was going through, I actually knew I'm not making money out of this. What's the point? So that's when I obviously dropped out and I made that decision. The decisions that you're trying to make, you don't think about what you want internally and you think about what other people want externally, what your parents want, what your friends want, what all these other people are doing, when you just truly have to listen to that gut. And that's the hardest part. And that's literally what I put on here. Listen to your gut. It'll all work out in the unknown. These are the 3 things you have to understand when it comes to listening to your gut and actually going for it in the decisions. Because even if we were to say it'll all work out, I can't tell you how many times I've truly made decisions or done something and I didn't feel like it would work out. I was like, fuck, like this sucks. Like, I don't even know if it's going to work. And it did. It might have not worked at that time, but a year later, I sat back and I was looking at those moments and I was like, if that didn't happen, this wouldn't have happened. And I know that's kind of a hard pill to swallow for some of you guys because maybe you're going through really, really tough shit. But then you realize maybe 2, 3 years later, you have somebody that comes up to you and they went through that same stuff. You best believe you probably feel 10 times better knowing that you actually went through it, because now you can actually help that person, right? So it's perspective. It's seeing the perspective you're making, but the decisions that you're making, it'll always work out. And that's literally what I put on here. And I'm going to get to the unknown for other examples because there's a bunch of them on here. The foundations. What I mean by that is truly focusing on yourself in these earlier stages and actually working on your mindset, working on your health, working on physically your strength, all that stuff. A lot of us neglect that because we obviously want to party, want to do all that stuff. I'm not saying don't do that. Experience it, enjoy it, but always remember that your body is a temple. Like, these decisions that you make right now, I'm telling you, in the next 5 years, you're going to feel a huge, significant increase. I can't tell you how many people I've known in high school, and I look at them now, and not even a 5-year difference, and they're completely different. They're all fat, like their skin looks terrible, they look like shit, all that stuff, and it's because they didn't take care of the physical realm of their temple, and they also didn't take care of the spiritual, the mindset, all that stuff. So just make sure you're always just working out, like key actionable things. And that comes with the people that you want to be around, right? Don't be around the people that are obviously doing that stuff. And I'm going to talk about the military because this is going to be the next part. The last thing I want to say with the foundations part is skill stack. Now, this is something that one of my friends just brought up, but it's the idea that Harmozy even said it. At this time, when you truly are listening to that internal gut and you're going through the unknown and you're just figuring it out, if you can establish the skills that you need to go through those moments where you don't know what's going to happen, but you know you have a bunch of skills in your tool belt, that will help you out so much to go through that stuff, but also have the confidence because you're like, at least I know these things. At least if I ever have an opportunity to do something very great, I know I can be that guy to actually do it. Next part, military doza. This is going to be a fun one because there's a lot to really talk about, and this is going to really tie to almost any single person, but the environment not being permanent moment. This is something that a lot of us don't understand, especially when you're going through a tough time, when you're going through a hard time. To give you context, one of my buddies, he ended up having a kid really early. I'm seeing him in a position where he wants to take those jumps and go to the unknown, and he's trying to get into sales, right? He's working a regular job, but he's trying to get into sales because he knows he can make a lot more, but it's that bit of unknown because even sales, it's not a traditional job, and not a lot of people are like really for it. So like he's going through those phases. He's also like taking care of a kid. He's also in a house that he probably doesn't want to be in. He's in this environment that he probably doesn't like, but it's always that reminder that I tell him that it's not permanent. And when he finds a way, when he pulls all levers, he's going to realize that. If you think about it too, if we were to tie some of the stuff on here, this is a part of your story. This is a part of your story that'll make it so interesting. If you think about it, all the celebrities that you probably know, they've all been through all this shit. And they probably been through like specific phases that you're going through right now. I want you to think of all the key people that you known that have these incredible stories that are obviously not in that environment anymore, right? So whatever your environment you're in, I know it's hard because you're in that, but that's where you have to remind yourself like you're not there anymore. So to give you guys context with the military, I went through a lot of this because I was just sitting there and I was like, I'm stuck in this contract and all these people around me aren't in the same mindset that I am in, and I'm trying to make a lot more money. And I'm just like, man, this sucks. But then I also realized, how cool is it? Because at that time, I was stuck in the United Kingdom in a military dorm. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, dude, all these other people I see, they're doing all this crazy shit and I'm stuck here. But that's where we also tie in. Be thankful. Being thankful for the fact that maybe you have certain perks in your environment right now that you won't have later on. And that's a huge thing that a lot of us don't realize. And even say with the military thing, like a lot of you military guys too, I know that's a small few, you might have benefits that you're given that can allow you to propel to where you want to actually be. This is a part of your story. Be thankful for the fact that you're in this environment, because honestly, this is where you'll learn the most. And then you'll get to that autopilot zone where you're at that point of being where you're like, wow, I actually did everything. The crabs in a bucket. This is interesting because this comes down to anyone, honestly. This could be a corporate job that you don't want to be in. Just like, man, like, I don't know anyone. I don't have anybody outside of what I want to do. My ideas, my goals, my dreams are completely different. I just don't know what to do. Friends are not your friends. And this is the same thing that I brought up in the past. Like, the people that you're around, they don't have the same aspirations as you. But the issue is you're in this, and I literally put it on here, you're in this dome. You're in this dome right now where all you see is the people around you. But I guarantee you, if you start taking those leaps, if you start taking those actions, you will find those people. So to give you an example with the military, I knew this. And I was like, I need to find people outside of my space. So I intentionally put myself out there, right? I went to a networking event, and this networking event literally changed my life. Right before we were going to walk in, we did a prayer. Now, keep in mind, I'm not religious at all until now. We did a prayer where we were like, Lord, please just show us the way throughout this entire event. May this completely change our lives. The first person I met literally broke me into the actual space I wanted to be into. Everything else changed after that. I found the right friends. I found the right people. And so that's so freaking important. Like, and then not to mention, while you're in this phase of trying to figure out your life, you're with the right people now and you're working towards that goal and you're striving towards it. You'll have a moment where you do hit a breakthrough, but right before that breakthrough, like 90% before it happens, you'll feel this wave of just animosity, like attacks, opposition, people telling you stuff. Like, that's normal. That's supposed to happen. So be ready for that. There will be moments where you genuinely feel that, and that's where you know you're literally at that moment where it's going to happen. So to give you context with the military, I went through a phase where when I was in the military, I had to find a way to get out. And I knew ways to get out, but I was scared to do them, and I did them anyway. Right? That fear of unknown. I did it because I didn't know, because not many people get out of their military early. And so I found all the different ways. I started applying for them. I went through, of course, a bunch of different people saying a lot of different stuff. But then right around the time that I was going to leave and right around the time everything was ready, I was getting like some administrative decision almost stopped me from actually going. And it was because of someone. Someone specifically had certain powers that they were not using, and they were not approving things they should have. And they would have halted everything for me. That gave me a little bit of a buffer period to really question myself. I was like, really, is this what I should do? Stuff like that. But that's when I realized, I was like, this is the moment that everybody stops and everybody quits. I know people in the military that specifically had a moment to get out, and they were literally on their last day or like second to last day. Something crazy happened, and now they're still in, right? Crabs in the bucket is a real thing. The no balls moment. And this kind of ties to the fear of unknown. When it comes to you wanting to try to find different ways, find different levers, pull different levers, you will be faced with the fear of unknown, not knowing exactly what's going to happen, not knowing all the steps that you're going to need to take to get there, but doing it anyway. With the military, is the same thing. I didn't know how to apply to get separated out. I didn't know all the steps I needed to take. I had to call people. I had to set up channels. I had to follow up with people. But I knew my end goal was to do the thing I actually wanted to do. And I was willing to figure it out and find whatever it would take. And that comes down to everything else I mentioned. It's the fact that the fear of unknown is always going to be there. And it's the true no balls moment to say, I'm going to do it anyway. We're going to figure it out. The tree of outcomes. Because when you do take those steps, you will be faced with a bunch of outcomes. So a bunch of things that will come up. And then you just have to navigate. It's kind of like you're playing like a game. You're going to each level. Just make sure you cross those levels. When I applied for Palace Chase to get out of the military, I had to get a signature from this guy. I had to get a signature from this guy. I had to talk to this guy. I had to talk to that guy. So you'll have a bunch of outcomes that you'll have to go through. So it's natural, and they'll come up, and then you just have to solve them and be okay with being stupid. That's another thing. What's the worst that can happen, right? The worst that can happen is you make that decision to go do something, right? As an example, like with the decision I had to leave the military and truly do it, I knew that the worst that can happen is I just go back to working a regular job. Like the idea that I had about being a videographer, making that my service, traveling the world, doing all that stuff, if it didn't happen, I would just leave the military and then I'd be back in Florida and I would just go work, find a place to live, and that's it. Like, it's not that deep. You'll feel this big ball of pressure and understand that that's normal. It is until you make that jump that you realize, literally the moment I left the military, I remember the moment I turned in my CAT card and I got escorted out of the base and drove to the airport, the biggest bubble just popped. Like all the pressure just popped. And it was peace. It is a beautiful thing, but you only will get there if you take that jump. A sales doza. So this was around the time that I was actually in the military and I truly made that jump and I actually went into there. My way of getting out of the military was sales. I ended up finding from that networking event somebody that literally ran a sales community. And then right then and there, I was like, okay, how can I find a way to make money and actually get out of the military? And that's when sales kind of came in, high ticket sales, so online sales. And what that is based out of is the idea that you will basically sell a ticket price and get commission out of it. So there's a lot of businesses out there that sell coaching, that sell services, that sell all this stuff. And usually they need a closer, somebody to actually close the deal. and that's you. And most of the time, you don't need to be in person because a lot of these business deals are done. Oh, sorry about that. A lot of these business deals are done online. And so that's part of the reason why they have specific people that are good at sales to close those deals. So to give you context, while I was in the military, I was making around 2,000, 3,000 a month off of E3 pay. And then not to mention what I was basically doing was the moment I got out of my job, off of work, I would literally go right back into work, going into online sales. So the moment I would come back, it would be around like 6 p.m., 7 p.m. I'd work from like 7 p.m. all the way up to like 1 or 2 in the morning. And then I would do that. And I did that for about a year where I was just working, stacking up money. Part of the reason why I say sales doza and why I bring that up is because there's a lot of lessons that I learned from that decision that I made. And one of the biggest things was you're a big boy now. Sales will teach you one thing, and it's something that I recommend a lot of people go through, is that you are the one that is responsible for the money you make. You're also, your skill will determine how much you make. And it's not a case where you're going through life just expecting people to pay you stuff. So to change your mindset about how life truly is in terms of like, if you truly want to make the money you want to make or do the things you want to do, you have to convince certain people that your value is worth enough for you to get there. It taught me a lot, and that's part of the reason why I ended up doing it, because I was like, okay, if I can learn this skill, I can get out of the military and I'll at least have a skill that I'll know in the back pocket that I can use. And if I ever get into a position where the unknown happens, I know what my default is. Nobody will save you. That's another thing. Nobody will naturally save you. That's something I literally remind myself off of here, because that's one thing. Like, it's a great field to go into, but nobody's going to check up on you. They just care if you make the money or not. It's the best vehicle, in my opinion, to find freedom. And I say this all the time, especially with some of the military guys. I'm like, if you have time literally right after work and you're willing to do this and you're willing to sacrifice your last year, say, in the military, or even if you're working a corporate job, if you were literally willing to work from 5 all the way up to 12 in the morning after you get off of work, it is going to be there for you, because you could stack up all the money you need, you could stack up all the bread, and then once you have enough cushion, take that jump, go into the unknown. But it literally is so perfect because it doesn't require you going anywhere. You can do it online. You can literally hop on Zoom calls, and then you can close deals. You can make commission. So like, I literally matched my military paycheck while I was in the military with my sales commissions. So that completely swapped my brain to realize that if I just work extra hard, especially with sales, I'll make the money that I know I need to make. So that's just the thought process that you have to obviously take into consideration, especially if you're stuck. Because when you reach this situation, right, you're in this position where you're trying to find your purpose, you're trying to really get it down, or you're trying to get to a position where you are just doing your purpose and you're not thinking anything financially. This is the best way, in my opinion, to get to that moment. The personal development side of it, this is interesting too, because it's a character builder. It'll teach you a lot about yourself. And even throughout the time that I was doing sales and doing that while I was in the military, I was also traveling, right? There's a lot of times, especially with the high ticket sales space, where especially if you're in a community, they'll host events, they'll go to different places, and then you'll meet a lot of people. A lot of your limiting beliefs about life will be shattered because you'll realize there's somebody 10 times younger than you that's making more. And you're like, wow, like, what am I doing? Right? So it's a lot of these things that you don't realize very, very quick when you get into the online sales space. And that's part of the reason why I recommend it so much, is because of the fact that it builds so much of your character, because you're talking to a lot of different egos, different people. You're learning about psychology, you're learning about all this different stuff. And then ultimately it allows you to be a better human being and be a better communicator. The Visionary Doza originated from the fact that I went through all those different steps from the military, from high school, from sales, and now I'm able to do the thing I actually wanted to do, which was travel, which was do everything, do content, and then not have to worry about anything else, right? So one of the things you're going to realize is the moment that you do get enough and you do have enough money to maybe do your thing full time and figure it out and find a way to make that full time, you're going to realize, like, the moment you leave your regular 9 to 5 or the moment that you have your freedom, it's a lot of time, right? It's a lot of time, and how do we use it, right? You have a lot of time to basically work on everything, and you've been so conditioned to go to work from 9 to 5, but you'll have to realize one thing. This is a 24-hour race, like marathon. Like, this is like in the beginning stage, it's definitely like you are literally figuring it out. So one of the limiting barriers that you have to get rid of is like you will work Saturdays, you will work Sundays probably. It just depends, right? You're in this beginning stage, so you have to understand that like you have to be willing to work crazy hours just to get to that position where you can find a way to make it a lot easier on your end. That's part of the reason I literally put it on here. Remove the conception about old life work style, because there's no such thing. You're basically your own boss. And that kind of comes down to the other part. Put it in the sales side. You're a big boy now. That's exactly it. And then also enjoy it. That's another thing. You're going to get to a point where obviously you put in so much freaking work that it's going to be a lot easier for you to manage. Like a lot of those things that you didn't want to do, you'll find probably a way to solve that. And then you'll start having a lot more time still. Enjoy that time, because that's all the different phases I went through was so I can now enjoy the time I have now and be the person I actually wanted to be and focus on things that like I genuinely need to focus on, like fix past trauma, fix all these issues that I went through. Because one of the things you'll realize, especially when you're in this position where I'm able to basically make content and not have to do anything else other than that, I can truly do anything. And that's literally something I put on here. Now, the next part is I got a message from somebody on Instagram asking, what is your 10 out of 10 desired lifestyle? That's what he sent me. And it was interesting, though, because I had to obviously get context behind that, because I was like, what do you mean? And he was basically like, I want to match exactly maybe what you're doing to like what I'd want to do and where I'd want to be. And it's something that I told him that I didn't really say anything materialistic. The only reason why is because it's something I literally wrote down here. And it's the fact that I know I could technically do whatever I want, and I have all the skills that I've gone through right now and done all the different things and that took all the different steps to get there, to know that I feel free. I feel this stuff. Like there's certain callings that I'm still facing right now that I know I need to actually go after, right? Because it won't stop here. Like you'll get to a point where maybe you're in a 9 to 5 and you're trying to get out of that and you're trying to be a singer, right? You finally get out of 9 to 5, maybe you're a singer, you're making a little bit more money, but you want to do more, and there's more and more and more. There's more things that you want to actually achieve. Those internal things, you have to actually go after them. And that's something that you'll realize very quick, is like, it will never be enough. You can have gratitude behind it, of course, but know that this is a continuous cycle. If you made it this far, holy fuck, I'm gonna be honest, you're way better than me, because I don't even know. But you'll see here, right? All the different phases I went through, it brought me to exactly where I'm at right now, where I'm able to travel, I'm able to do everything I need to do. I can do videography. I don't even have to think about a boss or any of that. I haven't thought about a boss since January, and we're in November. So it goes to show. But the one thing I want to leave you guys with, and I literally put it on here, is your desired lifestyle should be the thing that you can focus on, that you actually want to focus on internally, and not have to worry about any external stuff that doesn't add up to exactly who you are. So as an example, the idea that if you don't want to be working at a regular job, but you truly want to be a singer, you truly want to be a content creator, whatever the case may be, that job's that external thing that is holding you back. That is not your desired lifestyle. Your desired lifestyle is focusing on the things you love to do without having to worry about all the external stuff that is holding you back. So that's kind of what I told him. I was like, my most desired lifestyle is literally that, and I'm living that now. So that's something that you have to remind yourself while you're going through this. Yes, the materialistic things are there. Yes, the outputs are there. However, if you're focused on that, obviously you're not going to get to that position. But that being said, hope this genuinely helped you. If you have any questions, let me know. And I'm going to leave it off from here. From the top of the world where boundaries still don't exist, to the bottom of the depths where life still lives. Do you dare to dream? As a matter of fact, do you dare to take the next step? I'll see y'all later.